Support comes from Thomas Nelson Community College, now becoming Virginia Peninsula Community College, the first choice to start a bachelor's degree since tuition is one-third the cost of four-year schools. More at tncc.edu.
Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, partnering with donors from all walks of life to improve southeastern Virginia through grants, scholarships, and leadership initiatives. Learn more at hamptonroadscf.org.
Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. It's another view on health with cardiologist and health equity director for Centera, Dr. Keith Newby. A couple of things on Dr. Newby's mind this afternoon, including whether or not to continue to mask up despite the end of mask mandates. Is a second booster shot necessary? And if so, who should get it? And I'm sure you've seen the commercials asking for individuals to participate in clinical research trials. Why are so many African Americans hesitant to join in? Why is it important? And how do you weigh the pros and cons? Dr. Newby joins us with some answers right after this news from NPR and WHRO News.
Discussing today's topics from an African-American perspective, this is Another View.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. Let me start by inviting you to join me this Saturday, April the 30th at 5 p.m. at Second Calvary Baptist Church, where the Virginia Symphony Orchestra is conducting what they are calling Beloved Community Gatherings. And on this Saturday, we're going to be talking about embracing diversity within the beloved community. And we will have music by strings with the Virginia Symphony Orchestra, and also principal guest conductor Thomas Wilkins will be in the house, and he will be conducting the music. This is a free concert that is open to everyone. And I know, particularly in the African American community, classical music may not necessarily be your thing, but I think that you will enjoy this, as well as a very meaningful conversation with panelist Stacey Armstead, who is president of the Norfolk NAACP, Patricia Bracknell, executive director of the Hampton Roads Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Reverend Dr. Jeffrey Guns, senior pastor at Second Calvary, and Paul Kim, who is an associate professor of music at ODU. I have the honor of serving as the moderator for that conversation. So come on out, enjoy us. Join us. It is at 5 p.m. this coming Saturday, April the 30th. And if you can't make that one, there is a second one that will be held on May 12th. I'll tell you a little bit more about that as we get closer to that date. So it's the fourth Thursday of the month, which means I'm joined by Another View health contributor, Dr. Keith Newby. Dr. Newby is a cardiologist and also serves as the director of health equity for Centera, and he's also a friend of mine. Hi, Keith.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. Keith, I got to ask you the first question. How is school coming? Because I have the entire Another View audience rooting for you. You got this, right?
Tell them I'm doing great. I finished my first semester. I had high honors pass on both classes I took. I'm getting ready to start my next one on Monday. I thought I had a little bit more time till I started back up again, but it didn't work out that way. But to tell everyone, thank you very much for the support. I'm doing great. I love it.
That is fantastic.
I'm learning a ton of stuff, and I'm going to keep doing what I got to do.
And you are working on your degree in
Masters in Public Health.
Masters in Public Health. Okay,
yeah.
Exactly, which kind of dovetails very nicely with all of the work you've been doing to help us navigate this whole COVID pandemic. And as the saying goes, it's still a pandemic, folks. Right?
Oh, yeah.
It is still a pandemic.
Yeah, it still is. I mean, I think we're seeing an improvement in things clearly, but then some areas are still kind of hot spots. So it seems like with the direction now is going to be more community based, like, what's your area doing comparative to the rest of the nation. And I see that as some of the changes they're doing in these mask mandates now.
Right. Well, so earlier this month, the mask mandate on public transportation was lifted. So airplanes, trains, that kind of thing. But even then, you still had to look at the individual city where you were, because some people kept the mask mandate, others got rid of it.
I know. It's kind of crazy. They say if you go like, I saw some show they were talk about if you're like, I think up there in New York and New Jersey, there's differences depending on where you are. So if you're trying to get on the train and you're on one side of the track, you got to wear the mask. The other side, you don't.
So what is your go-to rule about wearing masks at this point in time?
You know,
in the pandemic?
I'll be honest with you. For me personally, I think you have to. I'm still a little paranoid, so I still wear mine pretty much everywhere I go. I had to pick up something for my daughter the other day. She likes this little restaurant near Old Dominion, so I walk in there, and I think I was the only one with a mask on, and I say, well, I guess I'm just going to be the one man out because I say I'm keeping this on. But, you know, I tell people all the time, I say I think what you have to look at is your individual state. I mean, if you know you're unvaccinated and you have 800 medical problems, you're going to be at high risk for getting COVID and getting major complications. If you're fully vaccinated, you're boosted up, all that good stuff, and you have very little health issues and you're in a low district for COVID infections, then that's different. So I think you can start to feel free to not necessarily wear your mask everywhere you go, and I think it should be an individual choice. You know, I mean, I'm still a little paranoid because I'm in healthcare, so you know, I'm always exposed to things. But I am seeing a clear decrease in case rates. I mean, I'm not seeing any of the cases that we used to see at hospitals. I mean, nowhere near where it used to be. So I think there is some improvement in that. But I tell people, don't necessarily let your guard down, but just make sure you protect yourself the way you're supposed to be with the vaccines and with your general, health. Make sure you wash your hands. I know that's a foreign word to some folks, but, keep your hands washed. Make sure you're protecting yourself and protecting those around you. That's the way that's my advice to everyone.
Okay. So there's this new variant out there. There's yet another variant that, and it's supposed to be more contagious than the last variant. I mean, at some point, is it information overload or I guess what I'm asking is, how should we be processing all of this information?
I think, I know it's tough for the people, lay individuals who don't deal in medicine, and then you're trying to see what can I believe and what can I not believe in. I believe the variant is real. And it may be more infectious, but what you have to look at is, what's your case rate doing in your area? If your case rates start to jump up, then you have to be more cautious. I mean, the one thing about it, and I tell people all the time, it's better to be vaccinated, and I hate to keep bringing that up, but I think that's a vital point. Despite what people may think and what people may hear, the vaccination, what it does is it creates that exposure that your body needs to say, okay, if I see a COVID virus particle, I need to start creating antibodies. The problem is, if it hasn't seen it in a long time, meaning say like you had COVID 2-3 years ago, and you haven't had, you didn't, I didn't need the vaccine because, I had
COVID, right?
Yeah, but the problem is, and think about with flu shots, the reason why you get flu shots every year is because there's some variations in the flu bugs that come out every year, and you could still get the infection. The vaccine is not necessarily designed to prevent infection per se. It does, but you can still get it. But it will. The issue is going to be if you get infected with COVID-19 and you've been vaccinated. Your body is ready to start making antibodies quicker, so it could potentially contain the infection a lot more efficiently and effectively versus if you've never been vaccinated. Because it was 2 or 3 years ago when you had COVID, I guarantee your body is has gotten stale to seeing COVID, so it's like the immune system starts to wane. So it wasn't prepared. It's almost like a prize fight. If you're a prize fighter and you get ready for that boxing match and you go in there and you're all revved up, you've been exercising for however long they train, and then say you go 6 months and you don't do anything,
Yeah, you're not going to shape anymore.
You're not going. Yeah, so if you get back in that same ring with that same fighter, I guarantee the outcome's probably going to be different.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, Hampton Roads is at a low level. According to the CDC.gov. And people can go to CDC.gov and type in COVID community level, and it will tell you for your specific city whether it's low, medium, high, and so forth. And that also can be a barometer for us in terms of making that decision about wearing a mask?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's and I'm sorry, somebody was trying to interrupt me when I'm trying to talk to you. That's one thing. I can't get a break in this business I'm in. I'm sorry about that, but yes.
Okay. All right. All right. I got you. So one more question about COVID, and then we're going to move on to some of the other topics that we going to talk about today, and that is that second booster shot. Yes. They're saying for people who are 60 and over.
Actually,
yes,
50.
No? Oh, 50 and
50,
over.
Yeah,
okay.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
So over 50.
Yeah.
Should we get it?
I tell you this, to answer the question, yes, but timing, they were saying, I think 4 or 5 months after your last booster, you're supposed to get it. But I tell you, my personal feeling is this, as I'm looking at this and studying this and trying to make sure I'm clear about, there wasn't that, the first booster, everybody was on board with. I mean, every organization, everything, everybody. This one was not as readily acceptable. You do have different camps and thoughts about it. My personal opinion is if you're 6 months out, you probably should go ahead and get it. I mean, and don't get complacent, about it. I'm telling people all the time, don't get complacent. It's easy to get complacent because we're seeing the case rates dropping, and I agree. But just like the flu, I mean, I don't know if you've ever had the flu. I've had it, only had it twice in my life, and it was the most miserable experience I've had.
Exactly.
And I don't like being sick, so I tell people, I think you should get it, no question about it. The question is timing. Should it be 4 months after or 5 months after the last one versus 6 or a little longer? I think that's an individual choice. But I am personally, I'm going to be getting mine coming up here soon. I'm probably going to do it sometime in the next 2 weeks. I had my last booster, my first booster, about 6 months ago. Okay. So I'm going to be getting mine coming up here very soon, and I'm going to talk to you about yours too.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, not a problem. So I would say this: yes, it's not quite, and I think. Honestly, I'm not going to be surprised if we're going to need a booster every year, just like the flu shot.
Just like the flu shot.
Yeah, just like flu shot. That's my gut impression, but we'll see what the recommendations are.
And Keith, tell people again, we hear a lot about the symptoms are mild. It's like a cold. It's not like a cold. I mean, if you get COVID, unless you're asymptomatic, you still get sick, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and people need to understand
what I'm telling
relatively what that means.
Well, the thing is, I'm trying to tell them, you don't know which variant you're going to get. I mean, so you're rolling the dice, and that's what I'm trying to make sure people understand, because depending on who you're exposed to and where they were and where they picked up from, it could be the Omicron, it could be this new one, it could be Delta still. There are some Delta strains still hovering around out there. The original strain, I'm sure, is still hovering around out there. These strains don't necessarily go anywhere. They may dissipate a bit, but there's still potential to occur. So, so you don't know which one you're going to get. That having been said, the variation in your symptoms could be different. But the question is, are you willing? I don't gamble because I lose.
Don't like giving up that money.
No, I don't get listen, I ain't getting up that cash flow. I'm gonna tell you. That's why I don't go to Vegas. I don't go to Atlantic City, because I'm gonna tell you, I've only gambled, I think, twice in my entire life. And when I was a college kid, I was about to go to medical school. I went to Bahamas. And I had $200 to my name down there, and I messed around and went into a gambling casino, and I won like $2,000 in the slots, like my third quarter I put in there. And of course, I got overconfident, And next thing I know, I gave them that $2,000 back plus my $200. And I have not gambled since, because I said to myself, obviously, I don't know how to shut it off. So because I don't gamble, I tell people all the time, do you really want to gamble with your life like that? Yeah. And I say, I'm not going to do that. And I will hope, and I'm going to encourage everyone to take the same attitude.
Absolutely. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call to join our conversation. We have a variety of medical topics that we're talking about today, but give us a call and let us know what's on your mind. 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. So, Keith, this news got my attention this week. There's been a change of recommendations in terms of people taking aspirin to prevent a heart attack or stroke. People 60 and over, they're now saying should not begin taking daily aspirin to prevent that first heart attack or stroke. And it's a lot of confusion because people who may be already taking it, should they stop? What's that all about?
Well, I tell you, actually, the interesting part of that, it was never. I mean, I've been in cardiology now for roughly. Well, let me not say. I'll tell my age. It's been longer than 20 years, and I'll just leave it at that. And aspirin was never recommended as a primary preventative tool. And when you hear the term prevention, there's two types of prevention, primary and secondary. Primary prevention is when you've never had an event and you're trying to prevent the first event. So that's primary prevention. Secondary is when you've had an event, a heart attack, stroke, or some other vascular event, and you're trying to prevent another one. Aspirin was always just for secondary prevention. So it's never been recommended for that, but people were just doing it anyway, but the problem that we're running into is not that the data has changed. The only really change in the data is what we're seeing as a byproduct of taking aspirin. People over 60 were having more problems with gastrointestinal bleeding, and that's what the issue was. So if you're having, because, think about aspirin as acid, so if you have something irritating your stomach and it's creating problems with bleeding, then we're talking about that complication from something that's never been shown as a primary preventative tool to work anyway. So that's the issue. And so it's really it's not new data. It's just a nuance of the data that's already been out. And they found in the older population, the risk of gastrointestinal bleeding was higher, therefore putting people at higher risk for those complications.
So what if you're already on an aspirin regimen? What should you do?
Well, if you want to follow the data to the letter, you stop it. If you've never had an event. Now, somebody that has documented coronary disease, say if you had a heart catheterization, you didn't have critical disease, but you have disease there. I mean, you have disease, so you can justify staying on it. If you have vascular disease in your legs, long-term smokers, diabetics, if you have documented disease, then you can continue to take it. So the issue becomes, if you, like the normal patient with no other real issues. I mean, I got patients that want to take aspirin that they don't have hypertension, they don't have diabetes, they don't barely even have a family history of anything. Cholesterol is totally normal. They're thin, they're healthy, they exercise, and they want to take an aspirin for preventative purposes. Right. I mean, that's really the wrong type of person to do that, not because of anything other than when you weigh out risk-benefit ratio. Is it riskier to take it or not to take it? And that person specifically is riskier to take it because their relative risk is dirt low anyway to have cardiovascular disease.
Got you. All right, then we got some calls coming in. Let's go to Ray in Virginia Beach. Hi, Ray. You're on the air.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I'm older and I'm very good health, but I had a booster in November, 1 November, but I recently gave blood. And they tested antibodies, and they said I had an antibody level that would be able to, it was a reactive plus that may be used for convalescent plasma. It seems to me I have really good antibodies. So it doesn't appear that I should maybe get a second shot, but I'm not sure what all that means. Could you help me with that?
Yeah. Let me ask you this question: when did you have that blood draw in relationship to when you had your booster?
About a week and a half ago.
Okay, and you had your booster when?
November.
Have you ever had COVID before?
No.
Okay, so essentially, what this is saying is, remember what the if you say actually you have COVID, you had COVID. Your body is trying to fight against it, so your immune system kicks in, and your white blood cells are created with specific markers to attack a COVID virus particle. So you get a vaccine. A vaccine is essentially similar to if you had COVID itself. And when I say similar, meaning what you're trying to do, the vaccine's job is to make your body create antibodies against COVID-19. So, so that's the reason that's there. Now, timing is everything, because I guarantee you, if you test your blood a year from when you had your booster shot, those antibodies are not going to be anywhere near what they are probably now. So to answer the question, I would still get the booster because your antibodies will wane down, not because of anything that's wrong with you, but because that's the natural way this works. Unless you have some exposure, say if you had continuous exposure to COVID-19, maybe somebody around you had it and you got exposed to it again, but you didn't get the infection, well, then your antibodies going to ramp back up because you were exposed to it. But if you're not exposed to it anymore, your antibodies will wane down, and they will go to a very minimal level, and I guarantee your blood will not show the same thing it's showing now. So it won't be convalescent plasma a year from now. You will be one of those super cases where that would be the case, because the vast majority of people will not have that same antibody response a year from now. So it's great that you have it now, but it won't last. And that's the key thing you need to understand.
Okay, thanks, Ray, for the call. We appreciate that. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Don joins us from Hampton. Hi, Don. You're on the air.
Hi. Good to hear from you, speak to you guys.
Thank you.
Dr. Newby, I have a question about second opinions. Because of a diligent physician's assistant that I had, it was discovered that I had cancer of the duodenum, which was explained to me that was pretty rare. Now, it pronounced just the same way as some family members that we've lost to the GI cancer. So I started researching Lynch syndrome. Are you familiar?
Could you say that one more time?
What kind of syndrome?
Lynch syndrome. Lynch.
Lynch syndrome?
Right, which apparently is an inherited condition. You can go to bed at 9 o'clock, eat all the best foods, exercise, pray, and still get sick. Now, a first cousin of mine, and is a doctor in my family. So a first cousin of mine, his cancer 10 years ago presented exactly like mine. And that was the thing that was astounding. Then I lost another first cousin, all on my mom's side. Their mom passed away of GI cancer 40 years ago. So when I presented the fact, the folks at the medical center here on the peninsula knew what Lynch syndrome was, but now we're discussing chemotherapy. The surgery, from what I understand, was done beautifully. But now they're saying, we think we got 99% of it out. It could be that one cell that could be, hanging in there, and then it wants to come back.
So, Don, I'm sorry, Don, we're running out of time. What's your question for Dr. Newby?
Well, I'm asking about second opinions and then chemotherapy.
Yeah.
I'm hearing one thing. I got two things going on.
This is what I would say. Lynch syndrome is a genetic disorder. So, and it appears to sound like it's a very rare genetic disorder. So I think the first step that I would recommend you do is go to somebody who specializes in genetic disorders to have you tested, because they should have a genetic test that could actually tell you, do you have the gene that would be consistent with that. Because if they haven't done that yet, then they're reaching until they know for fact. Because colorectal cancer is pretty common. I mean, it's common enough. So it doesn't mean just because somebody else says that they've had it, it has to be diagnosed, and that means they would have to done genetic testing to figure that out. So if they haven't done that with you, that would be my recommendation: is get another opinion. You may want to possibly go to a place like, say, a Duke or a UVA or MCV. Find out who specializes or has the most knowledge in colon cancer, who may have a special expertise in that particular syndrome or that genetic disorder, and have them kind of evaluate you so you're not doing things just to be doing them. I mean, because I want people to be over the top because that's your life you're talking about, but you don't want to be getting treated for something that you don't have either. Does that make sense?
Yes. And
okay.
And my test is it should be coming back any day.
Okay.
So I did do a blood sample and sent it off. And so we're looking to see that. Maybe I might see it in a week. But I'm just saying the people that I'm dealing with here on the peninsula, they're pro chemo versus they kind of benefits highlight the chemo versus, well, we really don't know about how we feel about it.
Well, this is where I would just, finality, what I would say this. I tell people 4 words I tell people all the time in your situation: pros, cons, risks, benefits. Tell them to line them out for you. What's the pro of doing it? What's the con of doing it? What's the risk? What's the benefit? If the pros outweigh the cons, the risks do not outweigh the benefits, then I would go with it. But you got to get that information first.
Right. Thanks, Don, for the call. We appreciate that. If you're just joining us, we're talking about your health with cardiologist and director of health equity for Sentara, Dr. Keith Newby. So I want to play a clip, Keith. This will lead us into our next topic. So let's take a listen first.
For too long, Black community health concerns have been ignored, under-resourced, underappreciated, undervalued. COVID-19 has highlighted deep racial and ethnic disparities across the United States. But now, you can have a voice in what happens next. People from all backgrounds are needed in clinical research, especially our Black communities. Be represented. Go to Pfizer.com/clinical trials to learn more about our commitment to ensuring all communities are represented.
So we're talking about clinical trials. That's just one example of many, many trials that are going on, research trials to try to figure out if a new drug works or if a new treatment works. Why are we hesitant, meaning the African American community in general, to participate? I saw a stat that said that 5% of clinical trial participants in the U.S. are Black folks.
Yep. And the reason why I think this is an important topic is severalfold. One is we need to be able to identify, are there racial differences in individuals when it comes down to certain drug testing or, just therapeutic interventions? Are there some genetic predispositions that will allow a drug to work better in one group versus another? Mm-hmm. Can you essentially say if say 95% of all participants are non-African American, the question becomes can you take that information and spill it over and say, okay, because it worked in this group, it also works in that group? And right now you can't say that, but we understand. And trust me, I understand the reasons people hesitate. And look at the vaccine as a prime example. And this is why I want to bring this up, because I'm fighting with people tooth and nail. I don't want anybody experimenting on me. I'm like, dude, come on now. I mean, I'm running into an issue. I'm trying to save your life. And, and I've had other people who say, well, listen, I just don't feel comfortable having this done because past history. And that part I get. You look at Tuskegee syndrome, example. Yeah. And let me explain to everybody so they understand what that was. I was having people bringing up Tuskegee, and I'll say, well, what happened there? They couldn't even tell me. I'm like, well, how in the world are you going to be hesitant about something when you don't even know what the deal is? But I do understand that point. Mm-hmm. I'm messing around with it a little bit, but it's a serious but we got to keep things light, too, at the same time.
Yes.
But essentially what the Tuskegee experiment was back in, I think it was 1930s or 40s, whatever year it was, they were taking the government was looking at effects of long-term syphilis in men, and unfortunately so was all African-American men, who they were saying they were given treatment to, but they weren't. And what they were looking to see is what were the long-term effects of syphilis. And that's what prompted that. So when you talk about people that had syphilis for years and years and years and years, thinking they were treated for it, found out they weren't. And syphilis can cause, we do know, brain problems, spinal cord issues and all kind. It could cause heart issues. I mean, it could cause a whole mess of stuff. Mm-hmm. And the problem came into it stemmed this issue of lack of trust, mm-hmm. which clearly I get, but I want to make sure people understand how things are done now versus how things were done then. Now, when the process before you can even get into a trial, it has to go through what they call an IRB process, which is a review board process, where they have to, and trust me, I've been down this road before. When I spent 4 years at Duke, the 3 years at Emory University, any clinical trial that I was a participator with, meaning I was an investigator, the IRB committee, which is a host of people of all makes, colors and, whole mm-hmm. racial background, everything. They would get together and they would review in detail what you were proposing to do. And there was a safety mechanism that you had to show you were going to participate with. So before you could even really get a trial out, there were so many hoops you had to go through to make sure that the safety of the medication, that they had a mechanism in which they were going to design that study, how it was going to be done, the safety mechanisms that had to be in place if somebody had an issue, how are they going to ensure that if you were on a medication, how are you going to identify what the potentials were? I mean, all this stuff was done ahead of time. So before even anybody was, plus, and then you had to sign a consent form that you understand and you went through the process, so you know all this about whatever it was they're studying. Mm-hmm. So, so I want to reassure people in the audience that just because a clinical trial is in process is not like Tuskegee. That was different then. I mean, and since those types of events have occurred, that's why so much has been done for safety issues. Mm-hmm. The advantages that you have is, and this is what I really want people to hear, there are treatments that may not be FDA approved yet, but are close to it, and this is like their final step. You may have access to things that could be a life-saving treatment, that you want to make sure you participate with. Now, I know the idea of if it's a randomized double-blind trial, that means that, nobody knows who's getting a medication versus a placebo. So I do understand that if you're having like a stage 4 cancer and you're trying to be saved and you're participating in this trial, hoping you're going to get the medication. And sometimes you do. I mean, because sometimes they'll compare standard treatment to the new investigational drug. So it depends on the trial, but you just want to do that background first. But when you think about it, if there is potential that, standard treatment is just not adequate and these new therapies could be, you could, you could benefit from that personally. B, you are helping shape treatments for the future that may help somebody else as well as helping you. Mm-hmm. So you have to look at it from a altruistic standpoint, not just an individual standpoint. And I just want to ask people to take these things into consideration. Don't look at being an investigative trial as being a bad thing. It potentially has the potential of being a very, very good thing. But what I do want people to understand is don't be concerned about safety. Trust me, it has gone through a million different iterations, hoops, and I've had times where I've had to go back and revise things because they had some concern about this or that or the other. And we a lot of times we have to go back, revise our plan, come back to the review committee, until we get approval. So, and because they're taking all these things into consideration, rightly so.
So there are lots of checks and balances now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, tons.
757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Have you participated in a clinical trial? I'd love to hear what your experience was. So give us a call if you have participated. 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. So, Keith, I know each trial is different because you're testing different drugs and testing for different things, but in general, can you tell people what, if I want to do this, what should I expect? I mean, am I interviewed? Do I fill out a survey? What happens to you?
Typically, depending on the scenario, you will be typically approached by a physician or a clinician who will say, listen, we're participating in this investigative trial. We're comparing this versus that. And they'll say, listen, I think this may be ideal for somebody such as yourself. Would you be interested in considering it? If the answer is yes, they say, well, I'm going to have my research coordinator talk to you about the study itself and what it entails so you have full disclosure and understanding. You then will talk to a research coordinator, and it's typically an RN, and they will go through with you in detail. And they will, it's probably detailed in nauseam, but it's good detail to have, where they'll go through the actual trial. What is the design of the trial? What is it looking at? How is it set up? What are the nuances of that trial? What you can expect? How long does it last? And a lot of times, especially with a lot of medication trials, you get reimbursed for that time, that you have. And it can be pretty decent reimbursement for because I know a lot of patients I have that give blood trying to get money because, they're short on whatever cash flow they have, so they donate a lot of blood. So, some people would do, I know professional research trial participants,
wow.
because they get, because they can be, I've had some patients say they've gotten up to thousands of dollars participating in research trials. So, it depends on the individual trial. I'm not saying do it for that reason. I'm just saying those who have interest in doing it, a lot of times they will reimburse your time. They definitely, majority of the time, they reimburse your travel expenses if you have to go to an office, or you're losing time from work. A lot of times they will reimburse that time. So you want to go through that process, understand all the issues with that research trial. Once you kind of understand all that, then you can make an informed decision. And if you say, yes, I want to participate, they will have you sign a consent form with it. And of course, you'll have a copy of it. And the consent forms have been vetted. They're legally vetted so that you understand everything in it, and they'll be in detail. And typically those consent forms are going to be quite extensive, but they're making sure you understand all of what you're about to participate with. So, and then they start the trial at a predetermined time frame, and you will be going to an office or some facility where you're either they're testing whatever that medication or intervention may be. It could be a new stent, in your heart. It could be a new heart valve. It could be, it's a host of things that they will be testing for. But the key thing that I tell people is understand what the trial is about and understand, like, say, if you get the treatment versus not treatment, what are those risk-benefit things that you want to do? I wouldn't advise somebody who's, like, say, stage 4 cancer with no other hope for anything else, and you're going to be in a trial that's going to say nothing versus, that, which they're not going to do anyway because that's not moral or ethically correct. It's going to be standard treatment versus investigational drug. The only thing, you may not necessarily get the new investigational drug, but you will still be treated. So I don't want people to think that, just because you're participating, it's like an all or nothing thing. So it's really about you as an individual trying to help the community in which you live and work and play to be better individuals. And this could help you, but it definitely will help people in the future to know whether this is worth doing or not.
We got a couple of calls, so let's go to Robin in Newport News. Hi, Robin. You're on the air.
Hi, Dr. Newby. I have two questions. One is placebo. My understanding of a placebo is that it's the non-drug. It's a blank. What's the point of using a placebo versus using the drug? And then my second, or do you want me to go to my second one? You're going to answer.
No,
Please.
go ahead.
Oh, please.
Go ahead. Give us your second question, too.
My second question is, let's see, my daughter's 31. 30 years ago, my OB/GYN said, take a baby aspirin daily because the biggest killer of women is heart disease. So I want to know, what is the biggest killer to be afraid of, to be wary of today? Is it cancer? Is it heart disease? What is the biggest killer for African American women? I'll be more specific.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Robin. All right, Keith.
Answer to the first question about placebo is, in order to really understand if a treatment strategy works, you have to compare it to something, because the problem is you won't know if something is causing an effect. Is that a what they call a placebo effect, meaning you want to know, like say as an example, a mood-altering drug, and you want to know, is that mood-altering drug helping somebody out of depression? So some people, unfortunately, the mind can play tricks on them, meaning if they think they're getting something that's helping them, they may perceive they are getting better. And they may be taking a placebo, but they're in their mind, they're getting better. So then they say, doc, ever since I get on this investigational drug, I feel great. But the issue is whether or not they feel great because the medicine is actually helping, or is it great because in their mind, just taking something makes them feel better. So the placebo's effect helps you to determine whether or not the effect that you think you're getting is the true effect that you're seeking. So that's the reason for a placebo. It helps to compare, because you're looking at a comparative group, so you can compare apples to apples. And you want to know whether or not what you're doing is actually helping that individual. And you can't know that if everybody's getting the experimental drug, you won't really know if they're getting better or not getting better. Is that truly the effect of the drug itself? Because you have nothing to compare it to. Right. So that's the answer to that question. Second thing is heart disease is still number one, despite COVID-19. Yeah. Heart disease is still number one killer. So to take an aspirin every day, no. It depends on the situation. What I tell people, the best way if you're trying to improve your longevity, A, go see your doctor regularly. B, try to follow that advice. C, understand your particular issues that you have. If you're overweight, if you have hypertension, if you have diabetes, other medical conditions, you want to make sure you're doing all you can to help yourself be a better you. So that means that if you're overweight, that you have a factor in place or your plan in place to get the weight down. If you have hypertension, you're keeping a check on your blood pressure so that they're controlled. Those are the things that's going to give you your best longevity. Aspirin is just an additive effect in those who may, say, have coronary disease, they've had a stroke, they've had a heart attack. Aspirin can help prevent a second one, but it should be that by itself.
By itself. Got you. Let's go to Heather in Virginia Beach. Hi, Heather. You're on the air.
Yes, I am so encouraged, and thanks for all the educational advice and direction from Dr. Newby, and Barbara for always having Dr. Newby on. And I have my second booster, 6 months out. I'm so grateful. I'm a new grandma. And
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I would die. It would kill me if I passed on this COVID to lungs that cannot be protected yet. We are so grateful that people of certain age groups have this vaccine ready. I publicly mask, and I do all that I can. I cannot bear the thought of I am risk adverse for myself, but certainly for these innocent children that could be exposed because people just don't want to wear a mask for whatever their psychology is, and also are afraid of taking a wonderful, helpful vaccine that can give us protection.
Yeah, Heather, you know what? As a matter of fact, and we appreciate your call, Moderna today is now seeking authorization of the coronavirus vaccine for the youngest children. So they're looking at the toddlers and infants, and they hope to have an answer by June as to whether or not they can get emergency authorization. So we're moving forward in that way. We appreciate your call, Heather. Thank you so much. So, Keith, we got about 4 minutes left in this discussion. What do you want to tell folks that they need to be thinking about as we start to move into the summer months? Are any preventative things that we need to be doing other than making sure that if you didn't get your yearly checkup during COVID, you need to be seeing your doctor, don't you?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And I would tell people this, as the new grandmother just said a little while ago, understand that how you behave affects other people. It's not just about you, and that's been one of the biggest frustrations I've had as a doctor when I listen to people tell me when they're not going to get vaccinated, and they don't seem to care about who they live with and how what they do may affect someone else. And the world can't be circulated around you individually. A vast majority of what I do as a physician, as a husband, as a father, is try to do things I think are going to help my family, the people around me, my coworkers. And it's not just about me. That's my Christian beliefs. Now, everybody can do however they feel they need to do this. Mm-hmm. But I tell people all the time, I say, understand what you need to do, A, is you want to protect yourself. That's going to be first and foremost. So those things such as going to your doctor, exercising regularly. American Heart Association says we're supposed to be doing some form of physical activity 40 minutes, 4 days a week, or 30 minutes, 5 days a week. Now, that could be biking, running, walking, swimming, whatever you enjoy doing, but getting your heart rate up, that's going to help. Okay. Watching your weight, making sure you understand what your blood pressures are. If you're diabetic, getting those things under control. Those things all help to improve your lifespan, and it also helps with your immune system and getting to its working at its best. So, that's that piece. Second piece is making sure as you go into your summer months, take advantage of the warm weather to get out and be active. But also remember now, although the COVID cases, especially here in Hampton Roads, are waning, but you still can get COVID-19. I've had some people recently just contracted COVID, not even a week ago, one of the patients in the practice, because, again, they put the guard down. So you can still get COVID. Don't misunderstand that piece. And there are people that have this long hauler syndrome. I know we haven't talked about that. I'm not sure we've ever talked about that. We'll get to that. But that issue can cause long-term effects of COVID-19. So you may get through it, but you may still have some long-term effects. So I tell people, try to really understand what you do affects others. Protect yourself. Get your doctor visits in. Get your COVID shots. All right. That is Dr. Keith Newby. We're going to be praying for you as you continue to study and get work on that master's degree. Thank you. And sending you really good vibes that things will work out, because I know that is a lot between your full-time practice, being the health equity director, and raising your family and everything else. You're like the Energizer Bunny. It's amazing. I know. But thank you, though. I appreciate it, Barbara. Having a friend like you is encouraging, and just having those encouraging words helps tremendously. So thank you very much. You take care, and we will be right back.
Angelica, Eliza, and Peggy, the Stylist. Angelica, Peggy, Eliza.
Hi, my name is Renee Elise Goldsberry, and you're listening to Another View.
Daddy said not to go downtown. Like I said, you're free to go, but look around, the revolution's happening in New York.
Wow, my staff always surprises me. That was Tony Award-winning actress, singer, and songwriter Renee Ellis Goldsberry, and she's coming to Hampton Roads. Best known for her portrayal of Angelica Schuyler in the Broadway sensation Hamilton, she will perform with her band as part of the Virginia Arts Festival. Our Lisa Godley spoke with the talented performer about being Angelica, her current project, and what we can expect when she and her band take center stage in Norfolk next month.
As Hamilton's Angelica Schuyler, Renee Elise Goldsberry is a favorite character to millions. Angelica is witty, sassy, and smart.
I've been reading Common Sense by Thomas Paine. So men say that I'm intense or I'm insane. You want a revolution? revolution. I want a revelation. So listen to my declaration.
It was a role Renee says she almost passed up.
I just got a phone call one day asking me to come audition for this new rap musical that has been written by Lin-Manuel Miranda. And I was a huge fan of his already because I loved In the Heights. At the time, I actually was not going to go in for it because I just didn't think that there would be an opportunity for me to get the role. I thought I was probably maybe a little too old, and I just brought my daughter home from Africa. My daughter is adopted, and I was really just over the moon joyous about my family. And so I kept blowing the audition off, and eventually I listened to the demo of Satisfied, the song that Angelica Schuyler sings in the musical. And when I heard it, I just completely changed my mind. And I ran into the audition.
Renee describes playing Angelica Schuyler as an awesome opportunity to bring people's attention to America's four mothers.
Angelica, Eliza, and Peggy, the Schuyler sisters. Angelica, Peggy, Eliza.
I definitely knew it was a Tony Award-winning production. I could not have dreamt in a million years that it would be a Tony Award win for me. I really just knew that I was standing with giants. I knew that this was just probably the greatest thing that had happened to theater and to my life, and actually to the lives of all of us in the company.
But Hamilton wasn't Renee's first time capturing a Broadway audience. Her resume also includes performances in The Color Purple, Rent, and Good People. Throughout her career, she's moved from the stage to both the big and small screen with ease. For 4 years, she portrayed Evangeline Williamson in the daytime soap opera One Life to Live, and went on to capture the lead role in the 2011 movie All About You, where she wrote lyrics and performed on the soundtrack.
Everything that's real is you. Everything within my view. All I see is you.
Her background prepared her well for a future on both the stage and in front of the camera, studying theater at Carnegie Mellon and earning a master's in jazz studies at the University of Southern California.
I started off doing musicals when I was 8 years old, so they were always, combined. My love for acting and dancing and singing was all there together on the stage.
And now she's gearing up for a return to the small screen.
I just walked out of the recording studio in New York City for my television show Girls by Beva, which comes out on May 5th, because I play a character who is trying to rekindle her 90s pop career with her great girl group that's now a slightly older woman group. And so we sing a lot actually in the show, and it's tremendous fun.
When she arrives in Hampton Roads next month, she brings with her a talented group of musicians and several amazing singers.
You will hear a little bit of everything in my performance. You will hear soul music, pop tunes, some gospel, some spirituals, some jazz standards, a little classical, and of course, I end the show with the Broadway songs that I'm known for. I would not make it out. I would not make it out of there without singing the songs that people know and love. I have so much fun singing those songs, and what's really wonderful is that most people know them better than me now. It becomes a big sing-along party.
For Another View, I'm Lisa Godley.
And Renee Goldsberry will take the stage on Friday, May 6th at 7:30 at Norfolk's Chrysler Hall. Now, I understand we got several calls. People wanted to know, once again, more information about the beloved community gathering by the Virginia Symphony Orchestra. Our first session is this coming Saturday, April the 30th at 5 p.m. at 2nd Calvary Baptist Church. That is on Corporate Avenue in Norfolk. And principal guest conductor Thomas Wilkins will be conducting one of the songs. This is a wonderful opportunity to hear a great conversation and also listen to beautiful music. It is free. It is open to everyone. Let's pack the house. Everybody come on out and be a part. And thank you for the pleasure of your company during the last hour. I hope we've encouraged you to take care of your health. Please share this show with a friend. Go to anotherviewradio.org and download the podcast. Next week on Another View, age Aging Gracefully at Home. We'll talk about services available to let you age in place. Our theme music is an original composition created especially for Another View by Jay Sennett. Lisa Godley is our show producer. Todd Washburn is our audio engineer. And Dr. Barry Graham answered our phones. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. Next time you see a stranger, smile. It will make the world a better place. Join us again next Thursday at noon for Another View.
Support comes from Thomas Nelson Community College, now becoming Virginia Peninsula Community College, the first choice, whether starting your bachelor's degree or advancing your career. More at tncc.edu.
Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, carrying out your charitable wishes forever, whether it's helping shelter animals, feeding the homeless, enhancing the arts, or supporting students. Learn more at leaveabequest.org.